Hello and welcome to our second edition of Inside the Dome. As promised, Dr. Richard Sanders is going to join us, and he's going to answer your questions that you sent in via Twitter or email. But Doc, before we ask you the first four questions that were sent in on this week's episode, sort of a major announcement yesterday for ETSU.
Yeah, it was a great day for ETSU when we announced, Coach Forbes is going to be the guy that leads the program for, the next 5 years at least. And, I think he's really just what we need. He has great passion for what he does. He's recognized as, one of the top recruiters in the country. So I think that's what people kind of, that's what they identify him with. But I think when you really get to really understand his beliefs, it's all about, improving the players, making them better players, but also making them better people. And I think that's really critical. Plus, I think his style of playing basketball is something that our fans will really like. We're going to really get after people defensively, play man-to-man, and, play with great enthusiasm and energy. I mean, he's a guy that really concentrates on building a team and, really emphasizes that every player needs to be a good teammate. And I think, from, kind of some interaction with some of the guys at Wichita State, it clearly, they had great respect for him. The quotes from Van Vliet and Baker really indicate, he's a coach that, the players really relate to. So I think that's good. And then clearly his personality is such that, our fans will really enjoy, being around him, talking to him, and he's committed to, connecting with, all our different constituencies, both, our fans, but also our students, our faculty, our administrators, people on campus, and people outside. So I think it's a really good fit. It's amazing how many text messages I got last night and this morning saying, great hire, Coach Forbes is going to really, make some hay for good old ETSU. So I think that's exciting, and I'm excited because, like he said yesterday in the press conference, he wants to win right now. It's not going to be one of these 3-year down the road deals. He thinks we have good enough players, and I think he'll bring in some folks that'll kind of maybe fill in some holes and support the guys we got. But he feels good about the guys we have here.
Let's talk a little bit about the timing before we get into the hashtag What's Up Doc questions. And I thought it was amazing because you had mentioned in the press conference yesterday that you had zeroed in on him, identified him as a top candidate, and then I don't know if it always works that way, but able to identify, zero in, and then get it done as quick as possible.
Well, it doesn't always happen that way, but we did. I mean, we really never even talked to anybody else. I've focused on Coach Forbes from the very outset. Prior to making that decision, I had the opportunity to talk to a lot of people in the inner circle of college basketball who really knows who can coach, who would be a good fit for us, and in discussions with them, it was amazing how many of those guys, the Jeff Capels, Anthony Grant, Shaka Smarts, Doug Elgins, Rick Boyages, Bob Huggins, guys like that, really kind of thought that Coach Forbes was a tremendous hire for us. Plus, he would be somebody that could really lead this program and get us back to where we want to be, and that's competing for championships every year and going to the NCAA tournament.
Well, we got 4 questions for you today on our segment of What's Up, Doc. And the first question from @BuckBlueAndGold wants to know when Bucky will get an update to match the new logo, and then also what can we do to get him a little more Buck Wild during games?
Well, those are great questions. Initially, I think in our discussions, we thought that maybe, the mascot always doesn't have to kind of mirror the logo. So I think, Bucky, a lot of people relate to Bucky. I think we clearly need to have Bucky that has more energy, more enthusiasm. That's on us. I think there's so many things going on. I take full responsibility for that. Don't think too much about it. And then you get to the game and go, we need a little bit more out of Bucky than what we've gotten. But then, there are other things come up. So I think, that's one of the discussions we'll have. It's very important, just like the whole, the whole image that we present at games, the whole, whether it's the band or the cheerleaders or the dancers, and the mascot's an important piece of that, and we just need to be more focused on that. So I think we've made tremendous strides with the band. I thought the band was really good this year. I think the cheerleaders have taken a step up, as have the dancers. So we really need the mascot to kind of become part of that, that whole fan experience at the games. So but we do, and I mean, to be honest, part of that is we probably just need to go out and find 2 or 3 folks that want to be Bucky and pay them a fair amount of money, and then hold them accountable to do that.
The next question came from Keith. He sent in an email, and he wanted to know about Freedom Hall. And last year, obviously, was a 1-year deal, wanting to know if something's been worked out for the city for the long term.
It hasn't been worked out for the long term. I mean, there are plans to, get with Pete Peterson and put together a long-term deal. I mean, we clearly have some things that we feel need to be done in the building to meet our needs, and I think the city understands that. We've been pretty straightforward with them, and they've been straightforward with us, and I think we have a plan, and it's just going to be how many resources are folks willing to invest in getting that facility. I think ultimately we'll have something that is really nice. I think it'll be a great venue, and like Coach Forbes said, we want it to be a place where when people come in here, they're going to struggle, because we're going to have a great home court advantage, and we're going to protect that home court advantage. So I think a big part of Freedom Hall is winning games and getting people excited, and then the environment will be really good. But we need to do some things to enhance it, whether it be seating and ceiling tiles and sound system and video boards and scoreboards. We understand that. So that'll all be part of our discussion with the city. The other thing that is very important to us, as you and I have talked about, is we need that building to be compatible so that we can do ESPN3. We've committed to do all our games next year on ESPN3, so that we think that anybody around the country will have access to watch our games in a really, first class way. So we really need that. There's some, as you well know, fiber needs to be installed in that building so we can deliver a quality of broadcast that ESPN3 will demand.
The second question from Keith is about the Southern Conference, and if there's been any discussion about adding teams in the future.
There has not been hardly any discussion about that. We at ETSU are going to really encourage that. I think Dr. Nolan and I have discussed this, and we think that there's probably a couple teams that should really be seriously looked at to bring into the conference. We think we can strengthen the conference by adding a couple, good schools, and I think there are people out there who will come, but I think we can add some good basketball and some good football schools that'll kind of elevate, the status of the SoCon. Clearly, I think with tremendous transition that happened with some teams leaving the SoCon team, other teams entering, I think the membership really just kind of wanted stability. And so I think adding those 3 teams, I think for a little bit of time, they just kind of wanted to, kind of become stable. And now hopefully we can look and grow. So I think that's kind of where the SoCon is right now. But we at ETSU, the president and myself, both feel we need to start adding some folks.
Well, our last question comes from via Twitter, again, using the hashtag What's Up Doc. It's WXBQ. Marcus wanted to know, the second part of his question was about upgrades at Freedom Hall. I kind of feel like you've answered that already. The first part of his question was, when will we see the ETSU football uniforms?
Well, soon. We had hoped to actually have them this week, but when you're dealing with, Nike, and you're dealing with, kind of a middleman, it's not the time frame's not always what you expect it to be. So we actually had planned to kind of have a reveal this week, but for one reason or another, that didn't quite happen. So I would probably guess in the next 2 to 3 weeks we will have the uniforms. I think I think they're going to be something that everybody can kind of relate to. I think they speak about the quality and the type of program that Coach Shorbush is operating right now, but how we're going to move forward in the future. they're first class in every way.
Well, Doc, we appreciate you taking the time, and we'll see you next week on Inside the Dome.
Thanks, Jay.
Don't forget, you can send your questions that we'll ask every week to Dr. Richard Sander. You can send them in Monday up until midnight. We'll ask them on the next day, Tuesday, and we'll get this posted online as soon as we shoot the segment. But all you have to do is send it to @ETSU Athletics and using the hashtag WhatsUpDoc. That's @ETSU Athletics, hashtag WhatsUpDoc. Or you can email us at etsusradio@yahoo.com. We'll be back next week with another edition of Inside the Dome.